One. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, wherever you are. I am on live with Lyndah Wells from the Bahamas.
Yes.
Yes. Hi, Lyndah.
Hi, everyone who's watching.
Hey, everyone on Facebook. You know what? I'm going to ask Lyndah to briefly introduce herself. I'm sure we all know Lyndah, but Lyndah, please.
Okay, so my name is Lyndah Wells, and I am a wedding and portrait photographer that is based here in the Bahamas. I have been photographing weddings since 2010, and I've been fortunate to have been able to travel throughout the 700 islands and keys of the Bahamas, because a lot of people think the Bahamas is like one island, but we are not. So my work really allows me, which really speaks to my spirit of adventure as well. So I love photographing weddings. I have a mixture of destination clients and local brides. And I also really kind of love street photography as well, which is something that I picked up later in my career, and but adds to me as a photographer. So I'm a mother. I have two girls who are now on summer break, and I've been like homeschooling for the past few months, going crazy. And I'm married to Doug, who is from the Bahamas, and I met him here when I came on vacation to the Bahamas many moons ago. So we've been married now, and yeah, so that's me.
So were you a photographer before you came to the Bahamas?
No, actually, I wasn't. I've always had a degree in a background in art and design. So I actually have a degree in furniture design and technology.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in London. I was raised in London. I was born in Lagos, Nigeria. I moved to London when I was 5 with my family, and I lived there all my life. Always been interested in arts and design. So I ended up getting a degree in furniture design and technology. And to get that degree, to prepare one of my foundation course, we had a photography course. So that was the first time I ever really picked up a camera in my early 20s. My brother gave me his Nikon F1 film camera to use, and we had to kind of develop film as part of the coursework. And I just kind of always had a love for photography, but I never kind of considered it as a career. Until I moved here to the Bahamas in 2005. A couple of years after that, I started working for an online news agency, like a blog that the owner he was a photographer, and he encouraged me to use his camera and take photos. And once I kind of got a little bit comfortable with that, he kind of sent me out. I used to cover like the community events, opening of this and opening of that, and I just kind of became the girl with the camera here on island. And so that must have been about 2007 or 8, but I didn't actually buy my own camera till 2009. And I used to just do personal work. And I never thought about using it apart from either personal work or for my online work. And then I happened to do a shoot, which I posted on Facebook, and it was received really well. I started getting people inquiring if I could do shoots for them, and I'd never done anything on my own that was paying. So I really kind of had to start from scratch. I never considered even getting into wedding photography until one day I went to the beach with my best friend, and we happened to bump into this young couple that were here planning a destination wedding. And my friend said, "Oh, you have to hire Lyndah. She's an amazing wedding photographer." And I'd never photographed a wedding. And they ended up booking me. It was a very small wedding. It was like 2 or 3 hours on the beach. But they were really pleased with the photos. I was pleased with the photos. And once I posted them online, it got the attention of a local wedding planner. and she sent me a message, and we had lunch. And she used to deal with destination brides. And so she said, I'd really love to work with you. I'd love to, refer you to my clients. And that's how I got my start. I literally just learned from scratch and made a lot of mistakes, starting, and then just really got my feet into it and found that I loved it and I was good at it. So, yeah.
So here you are. So I know that you are very well connected with the photographic communities here in the U.S. How did that come about?
That's a really good question. So when I started, I looked around locally. Like I said, I posted my very first work on Facebook, and I looked around to see if I could reach out to anybody locally who could help me. And there were two things I noticed. There weren't any, well, I didn't see any female photographers here in the Bahamas that I could reach out to. And everybody else that I could see was based in Nassau. Now I'm on an island called Freeport, which is not the capital. And, because we're all islands, you have to fly or catch a boat to every other island. So I could see that the people that I really wanted to get in touch with were based in Nassau. And I knew I had to try and get to Nassau to really make some connections. So I remember in 2010, there was a fashion week. And I asked the online agency that I was working for if they would send me over to cover it. And they were like, you can go, but it's on you. We'll give you a stipend per day, but you'll have to cover your own travel. And I was so determined. And I paid for myself and I went. And I made a lot of connections over there. But to me, they weren't enough. I wanted to just, I wanted more. I was growing in, I'd already done one or two weddings, and then I was looking at more wedding photographers, and I wasn't seeing anybody that was really, I was really in love with their work, or I aspired to be like. So I ended up just, I'm not even sure how, but just through Facebook, hearing of WPPI. And I was like, okay, I'm going to save up and I'm going to go to WPPI because that seems to be the best place to be if you want to either learn or grow in wedding photography. So I went. I remember my daughter at that stage, she was about 15 months. I'd had her, and I spoke to Douglas, and he was like, listen, if this is what you want to do, go ahead and go. So I went, and that was really the start of networking with photographers that were not from the Bahamas and from the US and South Africa. And I made so many friends, but it was really something that I had to work at actively, to not just travel to, but make sure that I was submitting my work or asking for advice or joining groups and learning things that I didn't even know that I didn't know. So that's kind of how that started. I definitely had to step out of my comfort zone to start building relationships with people that I aspired to be like, or I really admired their work.
Yes, and maybe I don't know many photographers from the Bahamas, but it seems like you're among the most active, or that I know.
Well, there's another, and he was actually one of the first that I reached out to actually when I went to Nassau. His name is Sherrod Lightbourne. He's an amazing fashion and commercial photographer. And I remember when I first started, I had, he met me for coffee and we spoke, and he was just, giving me tips, but I also did get a lot of pushback as well, actually. I remember reaching out to a photographer, and I was told, I could, because it's a very small, even though it's a very small place, and I think there was, people kind of felt like they don't want you eating out of the same place, it's like the competition, they feel like the competition was going to be a lot. So I've seen it happen, not just in photography, in other businesses. So I did reach out to some people who were they didn't want to say no, but they had to give me an excuse why they wouldn't train me. So I had things from, oh, you shoot with Nikon and I shoot with Canon, so you can't, I can't help you. And So I just had to make my own way. I never took no for an answer. I just kept, just pushing forward. But Sharad Lightbourne, he's one photographer that I greatly admire, and we have a great relationship now. And we've done online courses and, and collaborative work together. And there's also another photographer on the island called Mark, and he's a wedding photographer. And I really looked to him in the beginning for a lot of influence, like training. So, but they're not, we have a lot, but when I started, there weren't a lot then.
Okay. So now, I know you're involved with, you are a MagMod ambassador.
Yes, I am. I'm very proud to be so. I am a MagMod ambassador. It was, I think, kind of a natural fit because I had been using their products for years before they contacted me. And that's another, that was a case of like what you mentioned about networking.
Right.
So I'm part of a big educational platform of Tamaya Coven Education on Facebook. And I've been part of that platform. And in fact, funny enough, I'd known her and I made a conscious effort after I left foundation workshop when I attended. I stopped off in Houston for like 3 nights and I had dinner with her for the first time. I mean, this is someone I'd been Facebook friends with. I'd never met her, but I reached out to her. I said, I'm going to be in Houston. I'd love to sit down and have dinner with you. And she was so gracious. She sat down with me. But it was through her connection, because at that stage, she was really championing the cause and trying to get a lot of photographers of color, onto speaking platforms. And, that wasn't happening at the time. And she was getting so much pushback. I think that was when really the idea for her to start her own platform. She wasn't really getting anywhere with other people. So she decided to start her own thing. And also, I had also been introduced, my friend Jide Alakaja had introduced me to Charmy. And I know that both Charmy and Tamaya had mentioned me to, I guess, the guys at MagMod. And I didn't know until one day, like 2 years after I'd been using their products, they sent me an email asking me just to submit a gallery with the work using MagMod. And I remember vividly because I submitted the gallery and then I didn't hear anything for like 6 months. And I was just like, oh, well, it wasn't good enough or whatever. And I kind of just forgot about it. And then one day they reached out and they said, great, we want to have you on board. And that was how I became a MagMod ambassador. But it's a product that I use regardless of whether I would be an ambassador or not, because I really enjoy using it. It changed my approach to lighting. It really did, because I used to worry about lighting. It used to feel difficult and just like, it wasn't easy. It felt complex. And once I started using their products, I was able to create things that I could really envision in my mind really quickly.
Okay. Hey, Lyndah, I'm got disconnected from Facebook.
Oh, okay.
So I'm just connecting again. So
okay.
Give me a minute here. I think, I'm sorry for the interruption here.
It's okay. I'd finished. Technology.
Yeah, it's just, but we're back, and I'm going to tag you on the title, so maybe if you want to share it, you can.
Yes, please. I shared the first one.
Yeah, that got cut off, so we're going to.
Okay, let me share it again.
Part 2, yes. Okay, your name is attached now, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're back on live?
Yes, this is live.
Great. I get it. I'm going to share it again.
Okay.
All right, I've shared it one more time.
Good. It's a reset, but everything that you said was recorded, so we still have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If,
So do
if you
you?
want me to repeat anything, I'm
Oh,
happy.
you're good. You so on Tamaya's educational platform. You want to talk about that? Are you
Yes,
active in
yes,
what's going on
absolutely.
there?
So Tamaya is, like I said, someone that I had only met online. And so I have attended, I think, about 3 or 4 WPPIs. But my network was growing over the years. My first WPP, I think, was 2013. Yeah, because my daughter was 15 months. So it was 2013. And I'd gone twice. And then I took a little bit of a break. And then I realized that I'd grown this network of people. And I felt like I really needed to go back and meet them face to face. Like I said, I'd already met Tamaya when I in 2000, I think was that 2017, after my Fearless workshop. And but through her platform and another one called Black Wedding Photographers, we I felt like I had to go to meet others. And it was great because these are people that you've met online. You kind of think you know what they're like online, but when you meet them, it's like completely different. So I ended up meeting so many people and so many photographers that I admired their work, and maybe we'd shared information or messages or, other things. And one thing that's great about her platform is that the knowledge and the information that is shared there is really so helpful. I wish that had existed when I started. Really, it would have really helped me with my business and just learning about photography and just the ins and outs. Because now she hosts like these mastermind classes, and she also has a conference called the Photo Cookout, which I haven't yet been to, but I'm planning on going. And it's full of speakers that can take you from every level. Because I remember my first time at WPPI, I was excited, but I was extremely intimidated, right? Because I felt like, I don't really know that much. And yes, I know there's they have different levels of learning. You can take different classes and stuff. But I think there is also just this camaraderie and just like, it's almost of an ease of tension. Like you can just let down your shoulders when you're amongst people that, you've communicated with already previously online, you've shared information with, you admire their work. So, that is kind of the community of Tamaya Coven Education. So I was very fortunate that over this COVID break that we've all been at home, she decided to do a virtual conference, and she asked me to be one of the speakers. She had about 25 different speakers, and it was really a wide range, and it was this free online conference for a week. And I decided to speak about Lightroom editing, just taking things from a basic to pro, because I realized after having I taught a photo walk in December at the Muna Lucci Coterie. It's for like wedding vendors and wedding professionals. They came to the Bahamas and they asked me to speak. And I did a photo walk, and in doing that, I was speaking to some people just about Lightroom and workflows. And I realized that there was a lot of information that I knew that I could share. Mm-hmm. So when she asked me to choose a topic, and she left it completely up to me to choose what I wanted to speak on, I decided I wanted to do a Lightroom editing work talk, and it was really well received, and I was able to really share things that helped me with my just quicken up my workflow and make sure that my images are exactly how I want them, and that kind of knowledge to get that free. I think that was very generous of her to be able to have this conference, and it was I think over 8,000 registrations for that online conference. So, but yeah, it's a great group, and I'd encourage anybody to join. I know she has a long list of people pending to go in, but it's definitely something that, and there's so many people in there that I admire, that I love seeing in there, and they just drop little things that little gems, and they share not only just knowledge, but they share opportunities, right?
Yeah.
So if there's something, if they have an opportunity, let's say for a commercial gig or editorial work or something that they can't do, or a wedding, even a simple wedding booking that they're booked for, they share that in the group. And if you're in the area and you're available, you know, you can put yourself up for that. So it's an amazing resource.
Great. That sounds great. Okay, so now we get to learn from you for a little bit of learning, just a little bit of learning.
Just a bit.
You know, five life lessons that you want to share with us.
Yes.
All right, here we go. I want to put on the screen. It's gonna be this one. Yeah. Well, this is a beautiful photo, Lyndah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is a photo taken in Haiti. I went with a few friends of mine, Jide Alakaja, Mari Hassan, and Kurth Bob. We went to Haiti for 4 days to do just some street photography, and it was this was like a few hours before we headed to, I think, the airport or so. But it was, yeah, I love this photo. It kind of happened by accident, but nothing's really an accident, right?
You make your magic, huh?
Yes.
Okay, life lesson number 1. Such a strong
Anyway.
language, Lyndah.
Yes, I know it's strong, but sometimes for me personally, I need that extra push, because I'm kind of a person that can let my doubts hinder me from stepping forward. So I spoke about this when you invited me to the Fearless Conference last year. My God, I can't believe it was just last year. Because my story has been one where, and you only realize this afterwards, that it's been a series of situations where I've had to really push past all the doubt and say, fuck it, do it anyway, to get to the next step. So, and in saying, so it started from, I mean, I've realized it's been really an integral part of my life. But for me, the biggest thing was leaving London and the life I knew and my family. And I have a very close-knit family. I have like 4 older brothers, and, you know, we lived together for like right until my early 20s. We're very close. And when I met Douglas, I met him on a 10-day vacation. I came to the Bahamas. And so when I went back, it was like, who really goes back to live with this guy that they just met for like a week? Like, who does that? Like, is it real? But I really had to push through and say, you know, fuck it, let me do it anyway. I've got nothing to lose. If it doesn't work out, I can always go back. And then once I moved here and then trying to get into photography with the doubts of, you know, oh, it might not work out, or you didn't get as much help, or people aren't really like trying to help you, you still have to push past that. And then when I decided to head to WPPI, so it's been a series of steps that this like has helped me. So I want to say, a lot of people have doubts. And I know I meet people that are super confident and they don't. They kind of affirm things in the mirror to themselves every morning. But I'm not that person. But I do have to say this to myself every once in a while. And I found that I've never regretted it. Never regretted stepping forward and pushing out through fear to get me to the next stage, and or to, you know, it's given me excellent results. So this is my number 1.
Okay. Thank you. It's a big one.
It is a big one. That's why it's my number 1.
Number 2.
Be curious. Absolutely. Yes. I really believe in this. I don't think, for me, being curious is about always learning. Sort of, you learn, you relearn, you learn, you unlearn, and then you relearn. It's like, you know, you learn and you break the rules, and then you learn again because you start to do things your own way. You should always be curious, because I don't think you should never rest on your laurels. I think there's a big danger that comes with just thinking that you know everything, or everything is good, because you can always know more, and you can always take other people's experiences and learn from them, even though it might be completely opposite to what you know. You know, you can't be a know-all, and this applies to me in every area of my life. It applies to me when it comes to, you know, raising my children, when I you know, what I think I know from when I went to school, and from what they are learning now. They're different things. Things are changed slightly. It works for me specifically when it comes to photography. I'm always looking at how things can be done better, how I can improve myself, how other people do it, and can I put some of that into my work to make my work better. So I definitely think that you should always ask questions. You know, life would be uninteresting if you didn't ask questions, if you weren't curious. So that to me is a big one. So to be curious.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, what's one recent thing that you are taking in right now that you are
that I'm curious,
discovering?
that I've been curious about. I
Yeah.
will tell you one thing that I've really been. So, you know, I am not, I'm not African American. I'm a British African. I'm born in Nigeria, in Africa, raised in London. I've been living in the Bahamas now for 15 years. So a lot of the American history that I'm reading now, that's very much online, I am learning about. So like, I recently just learned about Juneteenth. I didn't know about Juneteenth. And for me to read about Black Tulsa, I didn't know about that. And, you know, and I'm so glad that this has come to the forefront, that I'm learning about it. It wasn't part of history in England, you know, when they're teaching history. And it's something that I see the importance of. And when I read about it, and when I've learned about it, it makes me feel like anger, but I'm glad that people are learning about it. And when I'm learning about it, I'm always sharing as well, because I know that I'm not the only one that's learning things. So I'm learning a lot of African American history that I wasn't privy to growing up in England. So that is something that I've recently learned about, and yeah, so that's something.
Yeah, great. Okay, thank you. Number 3.
Yes, because when you don't have time to take that shot, take it anyway, right? Because I cannot tell you, in like my early days of photography, where I would feel that, and I'm sure they weren't, but I would feel like the client was like, maybe just wanted to move on to the next part of the shoot, and I would have an idea, and I would not execute it because I felt like I had to move on. But what I found now over time is that those shots, that it's like, it's at the end, it's almost like everything has, you've worked through all the angles and the posing and the issues and the lighting, and that final shot that you take, that you feel like you don't have time to take, ends up being the ones that brings everything together, and is the shot that you are super proud of. It's almost like, you know, when you shoot in sequence, and you know, you're in the beginning, you're composing, and then you're getting lighting right, and then you're going through the sequence, and then finally you have that one image. So that is like, so this is something that I do try and repeat to myself in a working day. You know, when I'm thinking, oh, we can just move on, but I'm not happy with what I've produced, or I know there can be a better shot, I push myself to take that shot anyway.
Okay, great. Number 4.
Yes. So I think there's like a theme with all of these. It's almost like, it's like I'm talking to myself. So this one is, trust yourself. You know more than you think you do, right? And it's funny because I was looking, that title shot that I sent you of Trip to Haiti, I went back over that catalog last night, really late last night, right? And we did that trip 2 years ago, just like almost 2 years ago to the date. And I remember it was my first street photography trip, right? And I'd gone with 3 friends who had been on others before. I was very nervous. I felt like I couldn't produce like images that I would love, but I didn't trust myself because number one, it was a trip for us. It wasn't for a client. It wasn't for anyone. It was just to shoot what you like, create what you feel, and I remember at that time kind of thinking, oh, they're doing so much better than me. Oh, their pictures are better than me. And I looked through my contact sheet last night and I was just like, wow, Lyndah, this is like some good stuff. Like you did this. And so, you know, you really have to realize that you do know a lot more than you think you do, because for you to be where you are today means that you've taken in a lot of knowledge. You've learned from people, of asked advice, you've practiced, because the more you shoot, the more you practice. So I think that sometimes you just need to just really just let go and trust yourself to produce what you know you can. That you really, you know, this is a big one for me, just to give yourself some grace when it comes to, you know, producing images or clients. And then this can apply not just for photography, really for life and for personal projects you do, for, you know, your household and things. So just give yourself the grace to trust yourself, because you do know more than you think you do.
It's a lifelong lesson.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. It is. I can't tell you the amount of times I'm speaking to girlfriends just about personal things, you know, and you know, sometimes, you know how when you have a friend and they tell you, oh, I'm doing this, and you're always supporting them, like you're like, oh, great, you know, you can do it. But when you turn it around and you say that to yourself, you start doubting yourself. You don't give yourself as much grace as you do your friends who are telling you that. And if you turn it the other way around and just, you know, allow yourself to just know that you are able and capable of doing so much, that I think life would be a hell of a lot easier for us.
Okay. Number 5, the last one is
Yes. Don't get lost in the likes. This one is just, it's about keeping things personal, isn't it? Right? Because in this day and age of social media, I think we really can get lost in the likes, because I know so many amazing artists and photographers and just creatives that they don't get more than 200 likes or on like, and it's on Instagram or social media, but their work is just outstanding. It touches your soul, it speaks to you. And I think sometimes people think you just have to just show off for the gram, right? And I don't, you know, of course you want to have a successful business, you want people to like your work, but I think the work that really speaks to you and that makes you happy and makes your clients happy, you know, the work that you would put on your wall, is not necessarily for everyone, you know. So I just don't think people should get lost in the likes of, you know, how many people have liked my work and does that mean it's good. I've spoken to, I know people that will take down their work if it doesn't have enough likes, and I actually know people like that, and I think it's such a shame, because it doesn't really matter. If you like it enough to put it out in the world, it's good enough to be out in the world, you know. It's simple. It's that simple to me. So I think that's something that, you know, I've seen it, and it's not something that sits well with me, like constantly checking your phone to see how many people have liked that image or have commented or stuff like that. Just be happy with the work you produce. As long as your clients are happy and you're happy, I think that's it.
Yeah, this brought up a thought about social media and how, because we have this information now, that we can get this instant response, this instant feedback, or then we know what do we do with that knowledge that maybe we don't have enough likes, so we don't get approval.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the old days, we wouldn't know until a friend would call us up, or we would see someone, then we would know, get a phone call or something. But now we just instantly know. We're like, oh, we know. But what do we do with that knowledge, and how does it affect our self-esteem, or do we use that, constructively, or let it destroy our, I don't know, our individuality? And
That's true.
interesting.
So there a couple of things for me that I had to start doing. I had to start unfollowing like other photographers, not because I didn't like their work, but just because I didn't want their work to influence what I was putting out, and I found also that I was getting anxiety. It was like, oh, their work is, getting dislikes, and it started really affecting me. I have to be very honest, and these are conversations I've had with very close friends of mine. And so I just simply stopped following. I stopped following them, and I also have a personal page. In my personal page, I only follow artists and creators. I don't even follow a lot of photographers. I follow like illustrators and fashion designers, things that I like. And that helps me a lot. It just kind of took away this cloak, this anxiety that was just making me nervous and making me doubt myself. So yeah, and then just making me put out work that really speaks to me and makes me happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, maybe someday we can talk more at length about that. That anxiety is something that I find interesting. It's like maybe there's a way that we can deal with it, but we're so early in this stage of the game that is, it's only been a few years since we had this condition, or this.
Yes.
Yeah. So we quite know. Yeah. True. All right, Lyndah. Thank you for sharing your 5 lessons.
Thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Really do.
It's like a mini TED Talk. It's like
it is. Yes. It is. Definitely.
So before we wrap up, is there anything else? Okay.
I just hope everyone's doing okay, and I know people are looking forward to getting back to like work. I know it's a new normal, but I hope everyone's just like kind of staying safe and healthy. We're over here in the Bahamas. The country's getting ready to reopen, which makes me a little nervous at the same time as wanting to get back to work. But I just hoping everybody around the world, I have family in Italy and London, and I know everybody's experiencing their own, their own version of COVID-19. But I'm just, I just want everyone to stay safe. And I love the Fearless community. And thanks for giving me this platform to speak and share a little bit of what makes me tick.
Well, I hope to see you again in person. Yeah. And thank you for sharing. It's good to check in with you. It's good to talk with you.
Appreciate it, we. Okay.
I want to thank you, Facebook, for watching. I want to stop the stream and stop the record.